I stood beside my mother at the bus stop and I said to her, just be with me today. And she said, what do you mean? And I said, just be with me today. But she got on the bus and she went up to her favourite seat on the bus, which was in Dublin was called the television seat. And when you sat on the television seat, this was the view you had, because you sat down and you watched, you looked at everyone down the bus, much the same as I am here now with you. And she'd sit on the television seat, and what she would do then is she would be in her element, and she would interview the people who sat in the seats in front of her. And she'd ask them, where are you going today, miss? Hello, Fadema, nice to meet you. Where are you going? Are you shopping for your daughter? And your husband's out of work. And she would know the life story of the people who sat in front of her by the time we'd get to town. Now, I know you're saying that that wouldn't happen anymore because everyone's listening to their iPods and they're reading their Kindle books and they're listening to things, and that wouldn't happen. But it still does, because there's a television show in Dublin called Liveline, where Joe Duffy interviews people who phone in each day. And they phone in and he says, and what happened next? And what did you do then? And that's really interesting, tell me a bit more. And interestingly, Joe Duffy does exactly what my mother does. He's just interested in people. He just has a conversation with them, and he asks the next question. And regularly when I'm in the car, I'm listening to him, and I'm saying to the person, I'm saying, I'd love to know that question. And as soon as I think of it, he invariably asks it, because he's interested in people, and he's asking questions. And I'm sure when they hang up the phone, and they go, oh, Jesus, how did I go and tell him all of that? And all the family ring him up and say, Ma, what were you doing? You have to tell him the whole life story to the country. And what he had and what my mother had is the thing I would like to think we should all have, and it's simply the ability to have conversations. And what I do is I capture your business story and I give you the confidence to tell it or sell it. That's what I do. Simply, that's what I do day in, day out. And when I got the invite to come and speak at this, what it said was, invented here. And immediately the thought came to me, invented here is the gift of the gab. That's what we've invented. It's something that's uniquely Irish. It's something, if we went down the road to buy a carton of milk, we could tell a story about it when we come back. Certainly if someone gave us a pint of Guinness and had us sitting up at a bar, we could tell a story about it. And that's what we do, and I think that's what's uniquely Irish, and it's the skill that we have that we should perhaps take to the rest of the world. The picture here is a chapter 1. It's a restaurant in Dublin. And I don't know whether you know about it, but I'm about to say to you, I'm going to tell you a story about some friends of mine. And as soon as you hear someone say, I'm going to tell you a story about friends of mine, you know it's going to be an amazing story. And the story is that some friends of mine were recommended to go to chapter 1 because it was their wedding anniversary, and it's a very posh restaurant in Dublin. They went in and they're sitting down and they're looking at the menu. And after about 4 or 5 minutes, the head waiter comes over and he says, excuse me, sir, but I wonder if you mind if we asked you to move table. And they said, yeah, no, that's okay, we'll move table. Why do you want us to move? And he said, well, you're sitting at Bono's favourite table, and he's just come in with a guest from America, and he'd like to sit at his favourite table. Would it be okay if you moved? So they moved. They agreed to move. So as soon as they moved, they sat over here. Bono's sitting over here with a guest, and the wife is saying all the time, you have to get Bono's autograph, you have to get Bono's autograph. And he said, no, we can't interrupt them. He's here with visitors. No, you have to get Bono's autograph. I want Bono, you know, the kids would love Bono's autograph. I think she wanted it herself, but anyhow. So eventually, Bono went to the loo. And she said, now's your chance, now's your chance. Off we go, quick. So he goes over with a very important piece of paper, a napkin. And he says to the visitor, I wonder, would you mind getting Bono's autograph? And he said, fine, yeah, leave it with me. And they chat away, and they both couples chat away. And then Bono and the guests go to leave, and they're walking out. And as they're walking out, Bono goes first, and the American vest says, it's on the table. We left it on the table. It's on the table. So they go over, and there it says, best wishes, Bono, and they're delighted with themselves, absolutely thrilled with themselves. And there's even better news than that, because about 5 minutes later, they call for the bill. And the waiter says, oh, but the bill's been settled, sir. And they said, who settled the bill? And they said, Mr. Springsteen settled the bill. So the message I would have for you, if you're going to have conversations with people and you're going to talk to people, is you need to know who's in the audience. You need to know who you're talking to. You need to put some preparation into who's in the audience. Now, the interesting thing is the number one demotivating factor for people in business and in work situations, do you know what it is? The number one demotivating factor, it's been acknowledged for the last 20 or 30 years. Let me tell you what it is, because this is important to you if you're in leadership and management or wanting to just have a better life. The number one demotivating factor is, nobody listens to me. How often has your husband said that to you? How often has your partner said that to you? My wife says this to me every other day. My wife says, you teach this stuff and you never listen to me. So that's the number one demotivating factor. What I want to bring to you about this is that I've just finished reading this book called The Strategist by Cynthia Montgomery. And basically what she's saying in the book is that if you want to lead an organization, or if you want to head up an organization, you want to be in front of the organization, you must be the strategist. It's not good enough to have a strategy department or create a vision that you put in some dusty file and forget about. You must be the person who models that, who demonstrates that, who articulates that strategy, who lives that strategy. And that's what the book is saying. And what she's saying very simply, and this is, I think, really important, what she's saying is you must be able to, in a sentence or two, in whatever organization you're in, be able to explain, this is the purpose of our organization. Now, if you read, as I have, and maybe lots of occasions, mission statements and vision statements for companies, it's complete gobbledygook. It's a whole load of cliches strung together. What she's saying, and what I would say to people who I work with, is you must be able to tell that in your own language, in your own words, that's clear and simple, in a couple of sentences. This is the purpose of our organization. So have a think about that if you can, and can you explain that, and can you explain your business? Because what she's saying, it all starts with you, not somebody else. It all starts with you. Can you do it? Can you explain it? Can you tell the story? Now, what gets in the way of that is noise. And I'm working with a company at the moment down in Dublin called Harry, who are inventing a new outlook. And what they said is in 2001, we got 25 emails a day, and we were delighted with it. We thought it was a great tool. Now we get 125 plus emails a day, plus all the tweets, plus all the Facebook stuff, plus all the LinkedIn stuff, so plus all of that other stuff. So we're just swamped with stuff. And the problem is that we don't end up simply having conversations anymore because we're too busy doing all of this, answering all this noise and doing all this sort of stuff that we think has us busy and think it's important, and it's not really at all. And when I got to this stage, I had a thought was, what would I say to you at the 2-minute stage? What would I say to you that you would remember? What piece of advice would I give you that you might remember and that you might take home away with you today? And when I was thinking about that, I thought of a story. I'm working with the Propel group here in Belfast at the moment, startup companies, and there's this company on that called The Present Tree. And it's headed up by a company called Catherine Cunningham. And what she does, and I've put a sample of the tree down the back for you to have a look at, basically what she's done, identified, is there's a gap in the market. You can send a woman flowers, you can't really send a man flowers, and you certainly can't send children flowers. So what do you send to a man, or what do you send to children if you want to send a present? And what she's come up with, because her family have been growing trees, farming trees for the last 20 years, and what she's come up with is the idea, and there's a sample of it down the back. She'll send you a very young tree in a pot, already growing, in a sleeve, and they'll ship it to you anywhere in Europe. What she'll also do is give you a little bit of a history about the tree, whether it's the rowan tree or whether it's a beech tree or whatever that is. But also, if you give her a personal note, she'll handwrite a personal note and she'll send it on. But the thing that we discovered was, and it comes back to what are you going to say that's going to have you remembered? What she's discovered is that all of the personal notes basically say the same thing. What they all say is, plant a tree and think of me. because we all want to be remembered. That's what we want. That's the important thing in our lives. Is, did we make an impression? And we'd all like to think we're Nelson Mandela. We won't have the opportunity to be Nelson Mandela, but we'll have the opportunity to do something in our own way, deliver our own message, and get that message out there. So what would you want to be the message you'd want to deliver? And the message I'd like to leave you with is very simply that if you take nothing else away from today, start to have conversations with people and stop replying to emails and stop doing all the things. What we're doing is we're devaluing how we're living. People who we should have coffee with, we're phoning. People who we should have coffee with, we're having, people who we should have lunch with, we're having coffee with. People who we should have dinner with, we're having lunch with. All of our interactions with people are being devalued. We're too busy. We're too busy doing ridiculous stuff. So go back to simply doing what my mother does. Take the time to have a conversation and enjoy the conversation. I had a wonderful conversation with Fatelma today at lunchtime. A more enthusiastic or energetic person about our business and our idea you could not meet. It's going to go places. And in passing, she tells me, just in casual passing, they're already doing business with IKEA. And what she says is IKEA models the same principles and the same philosophies that they have as a business. Tremendous idea. Take an opportunity to talk to her. What are you going to do today that's going to help you to be remembered? Thank you very much.